evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Sebastian Natural Resource Board this Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. If we could, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Clifford?
Here.
Ms. Ware?
Present.
Mr. Kraus?
Here.
Mr. Stadelman?
I am here.
Mr. Carano?
Here.
Ms. Billman?
Here.
And on Zoom, Dr. Mosbleck
I'm here.
and Mr. Brugan. Here. Oh, thank you.
Oh, great. Thanks to everybody for coming tonight and for taking your time out for these important natural resource minutes coming up here. We can get the approval of the minutes. We get a motion for the approval of the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2024 meeting.
Thank you, Tom. Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on that? Can we get a voice vote for approval? Yay?
Yay.
Aye.
Yay.
Any nays? Okay, the minutes are approved. We can move on to number 5, announcements. Item A, board member vacancy. I guess we have a vacancy.
Yes, we do. Just before the Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration, unfortunately, Sarah Haggerty turned in her resignation, so she will no longer be with us. So we do have an open alternate spot at this point in time. And it is also worth mentioning, speaking of the alternates, that there was a new city ordinance passed through council, approved by council, that is in regards to the alternates and the dais. So from this point forward, all alternates for all board and commission meetings will be seated in the audience as opposed to up on the dais with the rest of the members. Now, if in the event that there is a regular board member missing, that alternate would take their place on the dais.
Excellent. Is there anything additional you need to add to that?
Nothing further.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Moving on to item 6, agenda modifications. Does anybody need to make any modifications to the agenda as it sits? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to item 7, public input. And if anybody from the public would like to speak, please come up to the podium. Is there anybody online?
Not at this time.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, unfinished business. And, really the only unfinished business we have is the Sustainable Sebastian initiative, so we can leave anything that we're going to talk about till then, because it's coming up.
I mean, we do have our Earth Day review.
Okay.
If you go through that just to see if there's
coming up with that
anything
too.
we'd like to discuss.
Okay. Other than those two things, any unfinished business from previous? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to item A for unfinished business, Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration debrief. Yay! Event overview and insights for next year.
Thank you, Charles. So we did have a successful event again this year, and thank you all for your help and your participation as always. And I know this is your baby that you guys are so proud of, and I hope that we can make it better for the next year's event. A few things that I'd like to keep in mind going forward. Maybe there's some areas we can kind of improve organization for the beginning of the event, for the initial event setup. I did have some concerns about the entertainment as far as the flow and maybe the type of entertainment. We did include the speaker sessions this year. Excuse me. Now, as far as people's attention and where that attention is located during the event, I was concerned that maybe we didn't have enough attention for the speaker sessions. So that would be something we would want to keep in mind for next year. And that's just a couple of things off the top of my head. and from my notes that I figure were worth bringing up, but I'd love to hear your feedback. And of course, if there's anything that you'd like to bring to the table, let me know. And staff is going to be developing a feedback survey for our participants from the event. So hopefully we'll get some feedback from our vendors as to what they'd like to see going forward.
Well, thank you very much. I think we did have a very successful event, and we would like to hear some input if we want to start. Does anybody have any input they want to put on for the Earth Day celebration?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Ware?
Okay, so I agree with you about the organization. I think that it was a little delayed with the city putting up so many things. I think that maybe they have to bring in extra help, maybe not city people, but maybe the Boy Scouts or some other group that needs volunteer hours to help set up tables. I mean, how hard is that? They were way overworked that morning. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. And I think that we have to really thank them for what they did. They really, really pulled it together for us. That's one comment. The other comment I have, I agree with you about the speaker things. I don't know whether we should put more signs up or we should have more announcements about the speakers that came in, because we couldn't really hear it at the different booths around. You couldn't hear when they were making those announcements about the speakers coming on. So then maybe they need a drum roll or something, I don't know. So people will look up and say, oh, something's happening here, right? The other thing was the hours. I just don't think we need 9 to 4. Almost every other show, festival, whatever we have in the city, doesn't really have that long of a day. That was too long for my own personal taste. I don't think anybody really started showing up till 10 o'clock. And I don't know about the rest of you, how you felt at 4 o'clock, but we were melting, that's for sure. So that would be my only suggestion, is to look at the hours, and maybe 10 to 3 is good. Just a suggestion in the future. But I think everything else, I think it was well attended. I thought that we had good movement throughout the area. I think we should have more food trucks. Again, we were only 3 food trucks. That's all that we ended up with. I thought we had a lot more that were signed up.
Well, we did have Rotary doing pizza, so they were not a food truck, but they were at the event. And yeah, we didn't have quite as many food trucks as maybe we could have filled into those spaces. And so I ended up moving some booth vendors who served sweet treats and whatnot over into that area to kind of fill in. But yeah, we really only got a few food trucks interested in the event.
So my suggestion, again, for next year would be to ask maybe the Boy Scouts or the Sea Scouts or one of those other organizations if they want to sell sodas or not bottled water, or lemonade in paper cups, okay, or hot dogs in paper wrappers, that they are always looking for fundraisers, and they have a free spot. Maybe they just don't understand that they could have an opportunity to explain to the public what they do with whatever organization it is, besides the Rotary. I mean, the Rotary is always there, but I think that we need something like that. Maybe even the high school. I know before they did snow cones at some other event. That would be great. We could have used snow cones for sure at this, because it was so hot. I mean, just thinking along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ware. Any additional comments? The only thing I could think of is if we can get to draw in some more people to fill in that grassy area up in front, where it's kind of blank. Our bands usually have a following, so a lot of that has to do with the band that you pick, if they have a large following or not. I keep getting their name wrong. I want to call them the Golden Bees. The Bees, they had a really big following. A couple of the other bands that we got in previous years also had a following. And what that does, that kind of fills in the blanks in the field, and it keeps people there. So maybe instead of the one-man band, who was fantastic, by the way, I want to really say thank you to the bands that were there, everybody who participated. But if we can get a little bit more following there, that may help bring in some more people, fill in those areas up front. A regular DJ to play in between the bands, and we can use his sound system at the same time, may also be beneficial, because what happens is that the bands have to stop and then they break down and then it's just silence out there. So I can, one of the things we were having kind of difficulty with this year was getting the message out. Because even though I'm loud and I can project, I could only use the one man band sound system this year. So we were really limited to one little amp and what he allowed us to use. So if we could get a regular DJ with his sound system, that would facilitate two issues for us: the time when we're getting started, when the bands before they start, in between when the bands, and then when we're ending, because we always seem to wrap up with, "Hey, see you guys later, bye." Where we could be playing something and then have a nice salute goodbye. That would kind of help with the sound system, and everything else was great. I thought we had a lot of people there. I thought the people that came enjoyed the information that they were receiving. The vendors and everybody from the state that was there, they were all glad at the participating and getting the word out for what they wanted to do. I think we accomplished our mission of educating the public on what the Natural Resource Board is doing for Sebastian, and what the city council is and what they intend to do. And I think it was a success overall. So I was very glad to participate in it and looking forward to it the next year. Is there anything else from anybody? Yes, sir. Mr. Clifford?
Are these bands compensated in any way? I know some musicians that, some want to be compensated, but I know others that would do it just for the recognition.
No, they're paid. They're paid not a lot. I think they get paid like $100. And it all depends on our budget, and we could actually pay more to get. There's different levels of entertaining out there. Yeah, obviously everybody would like to have, I think it's Trisha Yearwood or somebody like that up there. But it's that's one thing, but it does attract people, and they are compensated.
Okay, well, I know of at least 2 or 3 musicians.
What we really need are musicians with a following. And that was one of the things that we really scored big with the last few years. And I can't remember the other gentleman's name in his band, because he had a following too. And what they do is, if they're playing in local clubs or if they're on circuit, there's circuit groups too. That's I think that would fit good, because they're going to pull in. I don't know. I don't even know if Arlo Guthrie would be willing to play something up there. I don't think anybody's really asked him. But something like that, everything that we throw out there is something a little bit of a draw. But yeah, your musician friends, and we always need somebody else too. We're always going to need somebody. So regardless if they're up there on stage or not, there's going to be somebody else that we're going to need.
Okay.
So absolutely.
That's something I'll keep in mind for next year. Thank you.
And we want to start that process early. Like Rotary has a difficult time booking a DJ 6 months in advance. And it's really ridiculous. I mean, I've had to DJ several events now because we can't get anybody, plus the equipment. So that would be something you'd want to, if you're going to do that, start, and the bands and everything else that goes along with that. But I had a great time. I was hoarse for a couple of weeks later, but city council had a great time. Got to talk to a lot of people. Anybody with any additional comments?
I do have one comment.
Yes, Ms. Portier?
It's interesting that both Ms. Ware and Mr. Stadelman, you both mentioned, a decent turnout. In speaking to some of our vendors during the event, it seemed that from their perspective, and maybe this would be either confirmed or denied by, reaching out to them with a feedback survey, but they actually thought that there were lower numbers of participation from just people in the public. So I think that that's something that was kind of interesting, and I know that you all had a different perspective on that, so maybe there's more insight to be gained, and I'm not sure, if it's something that us making our event better will necessarily change the numbers, or if it's just a year-to-year fluctuation of who's going to what events, throughout the year.
I think you're absolutely correct about that observation. And one of the things that I've chosen to do is always speak positively about our events, no matter what. And we had a lot of people out there. We recycled a lot of materials, and it was an offering to the general public. And it's something that if they choose to come, great. They can also get the materials later, and there's a lot of different opportunities there for interaction.
So, also, I just wanted to state that talking about planning for next year and kind of doing some pre-planning, you were talking about booking things 6 months in advance. Felicia and I are meeting monthly to make sure that everything is on track so that we are in order for getting some of those bands and live performers ready for you guys to see what we have lined up. So I think 2025 and Earth Day is going to be amazing.
Woo, it was amazing already. It's been just a fantastic experience.
I think one of the things, at least under my perception, is that the numbers have gone down year after year after year. I think this year, there's a lot of events going on at Riverside Park. And I think, people are becoming a little saturated with the number of events, and they don't distinguish one event from another event. All they do is drive by and there's something else going on in Riverside Park. So we need, like Charles is right, we need a better draw and better food trucks and better entertainment would do that.
Thank you, Tom. Greatly
Charles?
appreciate that input.
I think
Ms.
I
Billman?
just wanted to add to kind of maybe draw a little more people in if we kind of did it more like a family day kind of cookout or something like that. Like we were talking about, just hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever, just like make it a barbecue or something and have it nominal, pricing for, different things in the hot dogs or whatever, just to make people come out as a family to spend time together. And also, I think food was as a major draw to get people, and to have something that's more like a community cookout or something like that might help bring people in. Just a suggestion.
Great idea. Thank you. And they're all great ideas. There isn't anything, one thing could work at one time and not work at another, and vice versa. If we could get Rihanna up on stage, yeah, huh? I bet you we get some people in then. But beyond that, I'm just joking. Okay, any additional input for our Earth Day overview? Yes, sir, Mr. Clifford.
One question. Is the date for next year's Earth Day celebration set yet, or no?
Yes, we are set for April 26th.
Okay.
That's the actual Earth Day, isn't it?
I believe it's the day after the actual Arbor Day.
Okay.
Yeah, Earth Day was
22nd or something.
22nd, I
Yeah.
think.
Yes. And this year, or this coming year, it's kind of interesting because Easter happens to fall on the previous weekend before the Earth Day, or the actual Earth Day holiday. So
Okay.
we're in a little bit of a different situation than normal.
All right. Well, it's going to be the end of April this year, guys. And really, if you look at it, we only have 10 or 9 more meetings. So it goes quick. It'll be here. It'll be here real quick. Any additional input on Earth Day? Okay, not seeing any. Any additional input on the Arbor
Charles,
Day part?
I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt
yes,
anyone.
Ms.
Can you all
Busbeck,
hear
thank
me?
you. Yes, I should have asked.
No, it's okay. I just didn't want to interrupt anyone.
Please do.
I would just like to kind of mirror some of the comments. I think the comment about being saturated with events is definitely an aspect of this where I don't know how we make ours kind of stand out, but I think that that's definitely the truth. However, I thought that this year was a lot of fun, and I thought that everyone who came up was genuinely interested. I'm sorry if you hear my dog whining in the background. And I also, I thought, I know there weren't too many food vendors, but I thought the food vendors that we had this year were there was one that was amazing. I mean, their food was just so good. So it wasn't just the typical snacks, but it was actual real food. So I thought that was an improvement because I think that we've been limited to just kind of snack type food in the past. So, always room for improvement, but I thought there were some really great bright spots there for this year as well.
Thank you, Dr. Mosbuck. Do you have any additional comments?
No, that was pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One bright spot. Five-minute recess,
Working
please.
now.
Everybody back on. And we'll call to order this meeting. And we'll get back to finishing up the Earth Day overview and insights for next year. Are there, I was saying that one of the highlights was there was no bottled water at our Earth Day event this year. So one thing we can definitely say is that we did not contribute with the single-use plastics with the bottled water. We were filling up at the fill station a lot, and I was glad that was there. They were thirsty, some people were, but it was working. So I was real glad we got that in a couple years ago. So are there any additional comments for any of this? We spoke about a lot. We had a lot of fun. It's coming up again in the next 10 months. I look forward to seeing everybody here. I'd like to again throw out a big thank you to everybody from the city who helped us. Bub, especially, and his team. We just couldn't do it without those guys. Felicia, thank you very much for everything you did. It was just fantastic work. I mean, it was great. So thank you so much. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing none. We'll move on to item B under our unfinished business. Item B, number one item, assignments for new board members. Do you have that, Felicia?
Yes, so I've had meetings over the course of May with our 3 newest board members, and just to kind of give you an overview of what I discussed with them, Mr. Dan Brugan is going to be assisting with the invasive species removal at Stormwater Park, and he has already started assisting me by providing the Brevard tree protection and landscaping ordinances, which I will be using in my cobbled draft of looking to update our ordinances. Mike Clifford is assisting in helping to develop an educational program for local schools as written into Sustainable Sebastian, as well as our internal efforts for reducing single-use plastics. Matt Kraus is going to assist with Donna in the resource conservation goal, and he's already helped to provide some insight on some of the programs that were used in the state of Vermont to get a peers input as to what possibilities there are.
Excellent. Any additional comments for number one, assignments for new board members?
Yes, I have a question, Felicia. Who would be my primary point of contact in the procurement department for, coordinating the increase and encouraging the use of environmentally friendly products?
So I'm not sure if it would be I guess it would be our procurement department. Jessica Graham is our procurement manager. That's her title. And the gentleman who handles procurement specifically for our facilities and our supplies here at City Hall would be Jim Testa. So I'll be coordinating with him, and as staff goes over those discussions of what specific supplies we'd like to change, and then we'll probably likely tie in procurement, Ms. Graham, and go over budgeting related details.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments for assignments for new board members? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to our second part for Sustainable Sebastian, reduction of single-use plastics. And I guess I'm up. I'm working, a couple things I found out. City of Sebastian doesn't have occupational licenses. They have local business tax applications. So what I was championing to do is to get the LCA. I want to add it to this. This is the actual application that I'm trying to get it to add it to. Just one line in here. One of the things is it's going to have to come as a request from City Council. It's not much that I can go to the attorney and request. There's nothing, no action is going to happen. So I'm not going to request it at this meeting, but I'm going to get on the agenda for our next meeting to make a point to try to ask these things. So the life cycle analysis based on the PESTEL process, I'd like to go ahead and ask the City Council to add that to our local business tax application, and that that replaced our occupational licenses. That I really should know because I have a business here. The second part of what I was doing, we have education, we have legislation. Education is for the general public and the businesses coming here. Legislation would be for everybody out there. A lot of that includes the single-use plastic ban. That's pretty much all we have. If we can do something, again, I'm going to come back at the next meeting to go through what I did last time and request the city of Sebastian look at a single-use plastic ban. Some of the pros about the single-use plastic bans: California's ban led to a 70% decrease in the plastic bag use. Many environmental benefits, including lower fossil fuel consumption and smaller carbon footprints, which fit into our sustainable Sebastian initiatives. There's economic opportunities. Bans create a market for reusable alternatives, generating new jobs in manufacturing and retail sectors. Now, there's some bad things about a ban. It does increase the paper bag use because of what you have to switch to something else. So while degradable, paper bags require more energy to produce than plastic. So there's going to be things to consider there. Cost considerations and business impact. All of that will have to be considered when I bring it up. But I would like to get on the next agenda, how I did last time, to ask the board to recommend the city council to do a single-use plastic ban based on what they do already in California or where it's working. So we can put it together based on what's working and leave out what didn't work. Okay, so that was we had education, we had legislation, then we had litigation. Litigation would include lawsuits against plastic makers by holding the industry accountable. Plastic pollution represents a major environmental crisis of our time. In response to that, lawsuits are emerging as a tool to hold plastic manufacturers accountable for the environmental and health damages associated with plastic production. The benefits of a lawsuit would include financial accountability that would help pay for the problems that we're experiencing, the cleanup costs, and health-related expenses, compensation for potential health problems linked to plastics or its additives, the PFAS chemicals. It would also act as a deterrence and provide legal action aims to deter future practices that contribute to plastic pollution, encouraging a shift towards a more sustainable plastic methods. And it would help develop sustainable alternatives and improve recycling infrastructures. Some of the early impacts and early settlements include settlements from companies like 3M who have reached a settlement. The settlement includes a $10 billion payout for one utility water cleanup. One city municipality, $10 billion. Ongoing litigation. Many lawsuits are ongoing in various stages. And that's what I'm going to come back at the next meeting, and that's what I'm going to present for that. So we have education, legislation, litigation, and all that is to help mitigate these problems. The PFAS chemicals, over 15,000 chemicals that are been more or less unapproved that have affected all of us. They're in our bloodstream. We hear of these nanoparticle-sized plastics. They're so small, they're being found in the embryos of unborn chickens. So it's the problem of our day. And I'm going to come back at the next meeting to ask our board members to go through this with me so that we can present a united front against this to help mitigate these problems for the city of Sebastian, and to ask the city council at that time to move forward on the education, legislation, litigation, and mitigation issues of this. And that's where I am with the single-use plastic. Any questions or comments? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to item 3, native landscaping. Our champion is Sharita Billman. Ms. Billman?
Well, we're still in the sort of the, I guess, planning stages, waiting to get a hold of Tim and Anna they're going to be giving us a, I guess like a plan and a cost summary of what they're projecting for Garden Club Park. So that's coming up, when did they say, was it next month?
I believe they said next month they would be able to provide us
Yeah.
with some sort of design.
So we're waiting to hear back from that. And then the other thing that we did, so we did have our meeting, I don't know, I don't think we've talked, because I wasn't here in April to talk about that, but we did have a really good meeting on site at Garden Club Park. And at that time, we were talking with, oh heavens, I forgot his name, the parks guy.
Richard Blankenship.
Richard, yes, thank you. And talking about irrigation issues, removing the sod that's there now, and a little bit more in sort of like the planning, envisioning what they want to do with the park itself. And so that was kind of exciting because I think whenever we get it all set up, it's going to be really, really nice and educational, informative. And I don't know if you noticed, Felicia, but out here, it's been 2 months ago, I went out and, did you notice that?
I did.
I couldn't believe it. I think this is a good indication that, again, if you maintain and prune, it comes back. Because the beautyberry that was out there, I don't know if you saw it like a year ago, but it was just all over the place. It was pretty, and it's hard to cut things back that have pretty to them. And so, but now it's like lush and green, and it's like, it looks wonderful. So I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, and there's still one vine out there, is it the honeysuckle?
I believe so.
Yeah, and it's in the wrong place, and it should be taken out, and I hate to take it out, but it shouldn't be there. It's the wrong plant for that spot. But it's just to show you, if just a little kind of coaxing and prodding, you can take a native plant and give it some character and make it look nice. And I think that's kind of what I envision for these areas here. Now, it can be a little more wild out at Garden Club Park, but, you know, that's still ways down. And the other thing, too, one of my neighbors, there's 2 neighbors in my neighborhood who have native yards that Tim and Anna did the installation. Well, actually, the one they just finished. And they literally had the black landscape cloth down for, it must have been 9 months, to kill the bahia grass that they put in the new builds. And they just took it up and they've just planted all their new plants and everything. So if anyone's interested in going by, I have their address, and I'm sure they'd love to have you either contact them or just look at it. But it's going to be nice because their backyard they've done already, and it's had time to kind of grow a little bit more, but the front yard's brand new. And so that's going to be a nice sort of indicator as it gets older. And the other thing I thought would be nice to do, somehow I'll talk with Tim and Anna about this, and through the city as well, is to have some sort of like recognition. Years ago, they used to have like Yard of the Month. But I think there needs to be something that sort of singles these people out that have done this extra step to say, look, this is what you can do with native plants, and to show them it can actually be really nice. It can be a little wild or whatever you want, but it's just a nice beginning, and I think people should be recognized for going that extra step to do this. Let's see what else here. No. And like I say, we're still waiting to figure out the cost. We don't have that. And let's see here. I think that's pretty much it. I still need to talk with some of the local organizations about, once we do get the things kind of in the works, to get some sort of community effort to help maintain it and keep it sort of in the focus of our community, and to make sure that we don't let it get away from us. We want it to look nice all the time. So I think that's all I have to ask or add.
Thank you, Ms. Billman.
Can I ask a couple questions here?
Sure. Please.
Okay, so recently the city had these open community discussions about the park specifically. And Tom was there, I was there, and one of the things that was apparent to me from the planning is they're going to be putting a lot of money into this park in the next year or two, over the next year or two. One of the things that came up from the public input was some type of planting along Route 1 to deaden the sound of the traffic and the trains going by. But it would also look more like a park if it had nice plantings along Route 1. I mean, I think that that's something that's pretty doable. And, after Earth Day, we heard a lot of trains going down. We were there all day, and there was a lot of trains. But I'm just thinking that there is money available for this.
Actually, I think I asked about that at one time, and it seems like it was like the DOT or something that sort of like maintains that corridor. But, I mean, they have the final say or something as to what can or cannot be planted there. If it were me, I'm an oak girl, I'm sorry, it would be oak trees all the way along, a nice canopy, and it just would slow everything down and give it a nice little hometown feel to it. So there's a lot of small towns that have that. I don't know along US 1, but when you get off of US 1 and go back into the small town part of some of these cities, it has that really nice calming feel to it because they have nice mature trees in there. And I would love, love, love to have it going straight down US 1 in the center divide, because on Schumann, I don't know if you've driven down there, but there are oak trees, and that center divider is not more than, 10 feet wide? And there's trees in the middle, and they're not buckling, they're actually nice. So, I mean, it works. And I think that as far as maintenance, I don't know if you've noticed this, but wherever there is traffic, there's something about the trees. It's like they just kind of stop where the trucks come. It's not like they're ripping off branches or anything, but they sense that that's as far as they can grow. I don't know if you noticed that or not. So along busy areas that do have large trees in the center divide or on the sides of the roads, there's something about the traffic moving through there that sort of stops them from getting out of control. That's just my observation. So.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions? Dr. Mosbeck, did you have anything? I thought I'd ask while you're in there.
No questions at this point, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the tree protection and landscaping ordinances with our champion, Thomas Carano. Mr. Carano, do you have anything to add at this time?
Not really, except I can tell you, I for everything that I write down, I come up with 5 reasons why it won't work.
That's okay. We'll circle back to it.
Yeah, so it's amazing, and Felicia, I'll probably have a list of questions I need to have answered before we move forward about the process and procedures, but it's rough. It's not an easy thing to sit down and do. You would think it would be, don't cut down trees, but if it wasn't for the fact that we have, again, small lots, small side yards, easements, drainage swales, it doesn't leave much room for much of anything, at least realistically, at least not something the general public would like to live with. And we talked about the CO issue, and that's probably something else we have to talk about, because that's the only way I can think of that you're going to be able to protect what goes in after a build, because we're certainly not protecting what happens before a build.
Thank you, Mr. Carano. Anything additional on that from anybody?
Charles?
Yes, ma'am.
I do have something. So staff has been working on addressing the tree protection and landscaping ordinances first before we come to the board with our assessment. And I have been working on cobbling together pieces from other codes, trying to assess our own code and kind of piece together something that Alex and I will then go forward and redline, and then eventually we will come forward to the board.
And we will talk with Thomas about that as well prior to making sure, since he's the champion of that, to make sure that we've gotten all of his feedback in there before it comes forward.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Oh, and thanks for being out there all day, Alex. Seeing you out there, it was a hard day. Okay, anything additional from tree protection? It's probably one of the most important things we can do. Okay, moving on to item 5, resource conservation. Our champion, Donna Ware. Do you have anything to add for us this week, Ms. Ware?
Well, I've been working on looking at other cities that have different things in place that are working for them, and I have about six different handouts from these different cities that I've been trying to get some type of approval for copyright issues. And a lot of them are from the University of Florida IFAS extension, and I've sent multiple emails to different places all over. And at this point, I've made a copy of what I've been working on, and I thought maybe somebody, Felicia, could talk to legal to see whether we need to have permission. If it's educational to the public and it's the same stuff that we're talking about doing, you know, as long as we give them credit for what we're doing, then why do we have to, you know, go through a whole copyright issue? So I'm going to give these flyers to you. And then there's one on microplastics. There's one on energy and water savings. There's one on plastic recycling. There's one on energy upgrades, which I'm sure with FPL, we should, I've tried on their website to see if they have educational materials for the public that should be, you know, the home audits and things like that. And it's not easy to find anything like that. If we have a contact at FPL, then maybe we could work through that. There's another one about planting trees and how their climate solutions as far as the carbon dioxide and everything, that's all here. And then the one that I had for you before about 21 practical tips for sustainable living. So I'm going to give these all to Felicia, and they're all from different websites. But like I said, there's 3 of them that are from University of Florida that I think that if it's education, they should be able to approve that for us. But I just want to make sure legal is involved somehow to give us the okay with them. So, and also, as far as my role in the city, as far as your organization here, I mean, it seems like most of these things are things that Felicia has to follow up on with, I mean, you already did the questionnaire. You've already met with them and explained things here as far as how they can reduce their footprint within the city hall. I would love to see us developing something with all the city-owned properties. To me, that would make sense. I mean, once we go through this, I mean, obviously City Hall is got to be the mother child of everything. We have to test it out here first, but we have quite a few buildings around the city and properties that, like, even just the art club right next door. I mean, I'm more than willing to champion that with some of these other buildings that we're using. I mean, we have to educate them first. So I would like to push it to that next step. It's not written down here in the goals, but that's where I would like it to go. Okay?
Excellent. Any additional comments on resource conservation for Ms. Ware from anybody? And thank you for your work, Ms. Ware. We'll move on to item 6, green infrastructure and low impact development. And our champion for that is Dr. Mosblack. Do you have anything for us, Dr. Mosblack? I know you're online. It may be a little tough.
No, I was able to visit one park over the last couple months. I know it kind of was on a hiatus with everything going on at the end of the school year and the Earth Day. So I think Felicia and I have been in contact, and I believe I have 3 more. They're mostly city parks, so Riverview, the Yacht Club, and the Community Center. And then that's it. And so we've set up a meeting in mid-June, Felicia, I think it's like the 19th, if I'm not mistaken, where we are going to discuss and kind of talk about next steps now that we have all of the kind of observations made, and see where we go from here.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Mosblack.
Got it.
Any additional comments? Okay, not seeing any. We'll keep on moving through. Our next one is sidewalks and bikeways, but that's on hold right now to be determined.
Yes, I had spoken to Mr. Kraus about the possibility of him championing that goal. We haven't yet had another further discussion about it, so that is to be determined.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll keep on moving through to number 9, new business. And we have item A, we have a Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup coming, which is always a lot of fun. Saturday, July 27th, 2024. And did you want to comment on that, Felicia?
Yes, so you all should have a flyer in your agenda packets about the event. If you are interested in the digital copies, PDFs and whatnot, I'd be happy to share those with you so you can help promote the event. For this year's event, I've kind of created a template as far as who's going to be where, when for the event. Of course, I would appreciate as many hands as possible throughout the event, but we are only going to say that you need to be there for maybe a 2-hour block at a time. I'll need a few people to help with setup and tear down. I'll probably be at the event about 7 a.m. that morning. And then I'll need a couple volunteers to help with check-in, checking in all the people who are coming up to the booth and participating throughout the few hours that the event is happening. I'll need a few people to assist with the trash weigh-in and disposal once people start coming back with all the things that they found. And if you are interested in participating in the cleanup itself, I would love to know, and that way I can just keep track of who's doing what where. And so this is just something to kind of keep in mind, but like I said, I'm aiming to have people in 2-hour time blocks, so perhaps just as an example, let's say Mr. Clifford wants to come help with setup and then maybe wants to help with volunteer check-in between 7 and 9 p.m., and then maybe he wants to participate in the cleanup. He's more than welcome to do that, but that's, you're not obligated to participate. And the full event itself will be 8 a.m. to about 12:30. So about 12:30 is when we would begin the teardown process.
Felicia, what day is that?
The 27th of July. It's a Saturday.
This
It
is
will
all in
be-
Fort Pierce? Is that where it is?
No, sorry.
Because
This
that's what this flyer said.
does it's the whole cleanup is our typical Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup where we host at our Main Street Boat Ramp site. So my apologies if there was any confusion on that. But we will maintain our Main Street Boat Ramp site as we normally do. There are several sites up and down the Treasure Coast, which is why maybe the flyer refers to that.
Most excellent. That's our big water lagoon cleanup project that we do every year. Everybody's probably getting familiar with it. You show up ready to work as much or as little as you can. Remember, all this is volunteer. And I think last year we picked up 650, 700 pounds of plastic garbage, basically. I mean, it's just ridiculous. From this one little Main Street boat ramp, from the group of people that we have, we pick up 700 pounds of plastic. It's just crazy. And they find that much material from every one of the sites out there. Some of the sponsors, it looks like this year, is going to be an Environmental Learning Center. Of course, Indian River County is going to be out there. St. Lucie County is out there. State Farm, the Rotary Club. So there's Waste Management, again, is participating. So we got a lot of big sponsors out there. We'll get out there and work just like we always do. So one day, hopefully soon, we'll get out there and there won't be any garbage to pick up. That'll be the day, won't it? That's what we're looking forward to. Okay,
Felicia, sorry,
Go
Charles.
ahead,
If I could
Dr. Mosblick, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Felicia, I'd be happy to arrive on the earlier side and help with setup or check in with whatever you need in the morning, if that's okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention one thing with that. I think you're going to start setting up about 7 a.m. Okay, so 7 a.m. To 12:30, so we'll be there about till 1 o'clock, 1:30, breaking down. There's actually a cleanup week associated with this. So July 27th is the day we all get out there and do our thing, but you can do the self-reporting from Saturday, July 20th to Sunday, July 28th, and you can register online at tcwaterwaycleanup.com. So you can go out there and do your own thing, pick up as much garbage as you want and report it in. But you got a whole week to do it, and look forward to seeing everybody out there.
And for the board members, if you are planning to participate in the cleanup itself, I'd just ask that you also register for the cleanup so they can keep track of the numbers on their end of things. And if anybody is interested in joining us for the proclamation on July 10th at the city council meeting, you would just be there to represent the Natural Resources Board and our little Main Street boat ramp site
Yay.
for the event. And that, as at the city council meeting, yes.
You'll remind us about that with the emails or something.
I can send
And the
you an
next
email
meeting,
reminder if you'd
too.
like.
We got one meeting between now and then, too, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay, any additional comment on the Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup? Tuesday, July, oh, wait a minute, when is it exactly? The 27th. Saturday, July 27th, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., Main Street Boat Ramp. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, Treasure Coast cleanup and board member assignments. Did we already talk about that, or?
So that was what I was mentioning about the particular timeframes and the different
Oh,
things that
gotcha.
I would need assistance with for that event. So if there's something, if you'd like me to reiterate
No,
what
no,
tasks
not at all.
would be, but if you have something in particular that you'd like to help me with for that event, please let me know.
And if you need anything, Felicia, just send out a shout out, and there'll be somebody here who will be glad to, or Miss Bernard. You know, I know you do a lot, and
Yeah. So we'll also make sure that this is emailed to everybody, so you guys can respond to the email, and in that way, we'll get everybody on board.
thank you very much.
Felicia, I should be there all day.
Oh,
I
okay.
usually am, yeah.
Thank you.
I love garbage.
Great. Thank you.
I mean, we're underneath ramps, we're walking through the mangroves.
As long as Charles doesn't collect, it's okay.
Well, what he's really talking about is one year we found a train wheel. I don't know if you guys remember that. Yeah, we found a wheel to a train. It was just the most unbelievable thing. I would never have thought I would ever found that in the lagoon.
Yeah, my back is still hurting, Charles. I think of that every
It was
time I
pretty
bend over.
heavy.
It probably came from one of the fish houses. You know, they used to roll
Oh, right.
carts out there
Yeah.
on old
Yeah.
railroad.
Yeah. Well,
Rails.
yeah, sure did. I mean,
And that
we were
would-
just really amazed.
And I also am available all day that day.
Thank you.
All right, great. We make a real effect here in Sebastian. Okay, let me see. We'll move on, not seeing anything else for new business. We'll move on to item 10, items for next agenda and date. The date for the next meeting is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, barring anything. Hope to see everybody there. We'll talk about the Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup then. We'll also talk about the Sustainable Sebastian Initiative. If I can get on about the single-use plastics, and I'd like to ask about that again. And does anybody else have anything for the next agenda? Okay, not seeing anything. If I can get a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Tom. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, and vote of aye, and we'll adjourn this meeting.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.